God, it's cold. Your streaming is buffering on YouTube.
Oh, sorry about that. We still haven't spoken to our ISP, but it seems to be improving.
Yeah, we've got a decent rate here. So,
yeah, it says
anyone
excellent.
Else? Anyway, welcome to March's BOOcast. Hope you're all well.
Happy spring! Meteorological spring has arrived.
Yeah, it's really nice. We probably said last time, we've been doing a lot of walking, basically, for our mental health. And we finally walked all the way from New Haven to Lewis, didn't we?
Yes, it's a good 10-mile walk, wasn't it?
Indeed. And we did a bit of impromptu situational art. We'll share that with you later.
Yes.
Actually,
one of the many delights we're going to share on tonight's show. It's packed. It's packed. So we're going to go through a few things with you. News, industry news, band news, creative things.
Yes, let's have a look at that. So over on BOOcast tonight, we've got news, some stuff, and we've got artist AI Pushback. Some fun moments there.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on about AI all the time, but hey.
There have been developments since we last spoke.
Yeah, well, you probably know about them, but here we go. And then we've got a Bandcamp Friday recommendation. So it's Bandcamp Friday. It's one of those special BOOcasts where we've got Bandcamp Friday happening this week. So we actually want to hear from you to hear your recommendations as well, but we've got some for you too.
Yes.
And then after that we have
Synth of the Month, it's back!
Yeah,
yes.
And that was a quick transition there. And then we got a music video as well. So we've got a packed show for you tonight. Synth of the Month returns. What was it going to be called, the other thing? Electric Noodle Kitchen. That's not happened yet. We'll work out what the hell that is. It's a good title, but I don't know what it means.
It's going to happen.
But yeah, all of that and more coming up on tonight's BOOcast number 32, which starts right now.
Welcome again. And
welcome
you for
again.
Being here.
Thank you, yes. So, once again, if you've got any Bandcamp Friday recommendations, either by yourselves or other people around, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll have a look at them and we'll try and get them out there before the end of the show. So, awesome. In tonight's news, what do we have?
Well, we've been hearing about some legislation in the UK to do with AI.
Yeah,
that the government's trying to pass.
Kind of happening later, isn't it? So, we talk about the other things up there. New music we've got happening.
Oh, sorry, I thought we just covered those.
No,
we've got new music. Yes. So we have, last time we spoke, Chris was sauteing the onions, just starting to put some ingredients on the heat and see what happened under the influence. And we have since started writing some words and recording some demos.
Well, basically, we had a really great night in the studio the other night, like one of those brilliant nights where you just come in and you just have a great time. And
so much fun.
We sorted through the chutney that we'd created the night before, the day after, the night before.
It was fantastic, though, because nice. I think we only went through about 5 songs and we put something down on every single one of them. It's great.
As Fletch would say, and I feel like Fletch with my glasses today. Do you like my glasses?
Very nice.
The vibe was good.
Though we're not always symmetrical, but it makes it very difficult to wear in-ears. And we use in-ear monitoring for our live shows. I love it because it means I can hear my voice no matter what the live situation is. Very important when you're singing. And what happens is basically they always fall out. I've tried different sizes. I've tried soft. I've tried foam. I've tried the silicone ones. And I've finally decided it's time. I'm going to get molded in-ears.
Yeah. I mean, so how many of you use in-ears and do you have the same trouble? I mean,
yes. Do you have weird ears?
Have you got weird solutions? Do you ever gaffer tape them into your head?
Like Keith Moon?
Properly. Oh, we've got some Bandcamp Friday recommendations already. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
So what are you doing about this ear problem?
Well, there's a brilliant website, no affiliation, called ACS Custom. I simply went with them because they're one of the biggest names in custom in-ear molding in the UK, and they have a very reasonable budget option. So that's really good. But how it happens is you buy the headphones from them, the in-ear monitors, and then they give you a voucher to take to any audio audiologist, in-ear hearing specialist in the UK. So they're all over the shop. There's one just down the road from us, so we're going to go. Unfortunately, it's not until April that I get to go because they're very busy. But then they'll pour some stuff into my ears.
So basically, we'll be there with a camera and we'll be able to watch stuff being poured into Bridget's ears, so we can all get to see
that.
that.
Sounds like OnlyFans territory, doesn't it?
Yeah, perhaps we'll put that on a special tier for the boosters.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. But
Have you
yeah,
ever
that's
seen someone have their ears drained?
Actually, no.
It's so weird.
But I have had someone give me a very graphic description of what it's like a sort of a hairy slug coming out of their head.
Oh, it was much more runny when I saw it.
Oh. Yeah, no, it was years of impacted goo. Have you had your ears done? Anyway, sorry if you're having a tea.
That's one thing they said, though. You must clean your ears before you go in because it could affect the shape of the mould.
So, Andrew, thank you, Andrew K. Moulded in ears are the bomb. So I'm guessing you've got some. So you must do because you're a drummer, right? So you need that.
Oh, yeah.
You need that stuff to stay in there.
Shake your head around and...
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited. I can't wait to report back on this.
Yeah, so there's something to look forward to
a
there.
gig in May, so it'll be perfectly timed for that.
Yes.
Yes.
A gig in May.
In Brighton.
Yeah, in Brighton. So, that's it. Yeah, fantastic. So, yeah, thank you, Andrew K. You got that. And hello, all of you, Brian, Andrew, Dilip Funbar, Andrew Brooks, everything marvellous. Lovely to see you all. So what's the news we've got? We've got some... AI news coming up. So
with the government.
Should I cut to you for this, or would you like me to talk?
Cut to the screen, and
okay.
We can both talk. But basically, the UK is trying to pass legislation that, well, it appeases the AI business moguls because, well, they want to...
Well, the idea is that they're basically going to change copyright law in order to, I'll just cut back to us, to exempt AI companies from standard copyright law. Effectively making it possible for all high-tech, big-tech AI companies to scrape all recorded music,
and
all
images,
visual art, all written work in the UK, and have no recourse, no...
they don't need to pay anyone for it.
They don't need a license. They don't need to tell anyone what they've done. And they, there is some very woolly language in the legislations about they have to be more open and transparent. Those lovely government words that actually, when you really dig into them, they don't actually mean that much.
Binding.
There's nothing solid, nothing binding. And the one little bit given back to artists and creatives is you can opt out. Now, the argument against this is that basically that puts too much work on people for opting out. And also, what happens if, if
you're totally unaware of this situation and then it gets to a point where your work has been used and you didn't know it had happened.
It's interesting. So this tech secretary, who's what's his name? Peter Kyle. He's the Brighton and the Hove and Port Slade MP. So he's a local to us anyway. And he basically says he won't bow to one side and won't be bullied, which you can see it's like, there's that kind of idiotic language that they use.
They're very keen to keep the business of the AI industry in the UK. They want to be one of the leading competitors in this field.
The actual quote was, "We want to be an AI superpower."
Wow, that would use perfect sort of weapon-related tech.
Weapons-grade AI. So there is absolutely a division. There is an opt-in or opt-out, but it doesn't matter if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear, right? All those kinds of phrases that we love. Oh, there's another article there.
Yeah, there have been a few articles about it, a few updates, and basically recording that there is quite a lot of pushback, which is fantastic. The government actually tried this about a year ago, a little while ago, and there was so much pushback, it got kind of put aside for a little while. Now they're pushing forward for it again, but nobody wants this. Human beings don't want this.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the news. That started in December and it just finished last week. And in response to this, you probably saw this. There was an album released this week, which I'm going to cut back to you. It's just called. Yeah. Oh, you're putting
just
that link
putting the links in the chat.
Okay, so there's the article there. But yeah, we've got this. Whoops, there we go. And various artists.
More
is
than
this what we want?
1,000 of them.
It's basically a piece of what's the word? Field recording of studios and performance spaces with nothing happening in them. And in all the news items, you get these Annie Lennox and Damon Albarn and Kate Bush, Elton John, and many millionaires basically standing up. And I don't know, the optics are a bit strange, but I get the vibe. It's fine. There are some small artists involved with this too, although I have no idea how they were involved. But if you listen to the tracks, I mean, it's quite. You can hear the gentle tinkling of a cup and maybe the occasional creak of a chair in the distance and the air conditioning of various studios. I mean, it's quite soothing, sort of field recording type stuff. But yeah, this is a sort of argument that, I mean, their argument is that this is what's going to happen to creatives and musicians. Sorry, creatives is such a horrible word.
The studios will ring silent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think about that, but I can highly recommend. Yeah, so it's. That's what's happened here, but we've also, we've looked at the. There are other ways of fighting back against AI. Now, I'm sorry, we're always perfectly against it. I mean, I know there are uses, and I can't remember who was saying this. Like, it's really useful for early diagnosis of cancers and things, where it can analyze scans and images very quickly. I get it. I get that. I am yet to see a perfectly good reason for why it needs to scrape all recorded music. For what reason?
And visual art. And it's got so much wrong with it in terms of the way that it works. In terms, like, the visual ones particularly have a lot of racial bias in them, a lot of bias towards pornography, although they're trying to program that out.
Absolutely, because you're having to use this stuff on a daily basis at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, I had to produce. I had to produce a bunch of images in a very particular style, and it kept spitting legislation. Something that's really interesting is these AI companies will pay for the data centers and for the water, but they won't pay artists to use their creative material.
This is the thing. I mean, I don't understand. The mantra is, oh, it's great. We're going to be a world leader, superpower in AI. We're going to keep it going. We're going to get bigger and bigger, and it's good. And I've never really seen the argument that is convincing that tells me why this rubbish is good, because it's effectively, the mantra is, oh, if something's new, it's good. This technology is new, therefore it's good. It hasn't really been thought through. And you don't really see in these bold statements from politicians and whatever about how they're going to, completely transform the world and make this technology like amazing and take over. They don't actually say how and why it actually helps people.
Well, even if I play devil's advocate and I say, okay, so AI has a use, and I think that use is in menial tasks, in removing work from humans, much like machines do, that is tedious, menial, that we don't want to be doing. But the problem is a lot of companies see artistic work as menial labor, something that could be done faster and better by a machine, probably.
Hence, creative people don't get paid properly.
And this is where the real kind of philosophical question comes into play. It's like, well, the value of human endeavor, is this just menial crap we're spewing out? Or is it, the ultimate in the human experience? Art, music, film as well, is being used a lot in film now too. And in fact, it's unrelated, but the huge VFX studio, just closed down this week. Apparently not due to AI, but due to Technicolor, who owns it, has been managing it quite poorly over the years. But the VFX industry is being affected by AI, and the creative industries are being affected. I'm already having to use it in my work. You've had to use it in your work. Yeah. So,
I mean,
yeah.
You can tell, how we feel about it, right? So, I mean, it's quite heartening to see this kind of pushback. There's also another kind of pushback. This is a little bit old, but I was interested to discover fairly recently about this stuff, Nightshade. So Nightshade and Glaze, this I can't remember what the company is called. It's probably called nightshade.org. But they have created this tool for artists, visual artists mainly, which embeds something like, it just puts a tiny change into an image, which causes your, the AI, when it scrapes it, to not be able to focus on it or make sense of it. It's called data poisoning. And the idea is that you basically mess up the AI. What's that bit you got there?
Yeah, so I love how it works. So when I first heard about Glaze and Nightshade, I was like, oh, so it's like a watermark. And it's not. It actually treats the image in a subtle way, so that the way the machine reads the image is different to how our eyes perceive the image. So when we see a cow in a field, this nightshade effect might make the cow look like a giant purse lying in the grass. And if enough people put images with data poisoning in them out there, then the AI models that are being trained on them will eventually think that a cow looks like a purse and has like a leather shape and a zip and a handle on top. So it's a kind of clever way of subverting the system. Glaze, on the other hand, is a way that prevents AI from ripping your images basically and stealing your style. But they're both really useful tools. And if you're an illustrator, if you're involved in creating visual art, I highly recommend using both before you put your images online.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, yeah, I don't know how you all feel. I'm sure some of you, we ask this every time. We always end up talking about AI at the moment, and I apologize, but it's...
we'll try not to next month.
We'll try not to next month, but it's kind of in the front of my mind. I think I talk about it on Sonic State quite a lot, and I'm always in the chat going, sorry, this is rubbish. No, it feels like nobody's listening. I'm just screaming into the void. It's like everyone's just obsessed with this. Oh, it's new, it's great. Oh, it's getting better and better at this, and let's keep following this down. It's like, why? Does anyone stop and go, why? Why is this important? I mean, apart from the fact, as you quite rightly said, is eating the planet's resources, literally the amount of energy being consumed by these data centers in order to spew out, write me a letter to my landlord.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. And remember, if you stop using your arms, they turn black and fall off.
Yes.
So it's important to keep using your brain.
Anything you outsource, you will eventually not be able to do. This is how it works.
I feel like I'm obviously... I'm preaching to the converted,
I do think it has uses, though.
You guys are smart.
I mean, there are ways it can speed up workflows. I've been using generative fill in Photoshop a lot lately, and that's great. It takes away a lot of tedious painting and stuff. But
again,
it's
that's just getting the grunt work out of the
grunt
way.
Work,
but when
right?
it starts making creative decisions and you get to choose, I mean, it gets the idea of curating stuff. I mean, there may be a place for it, but the fact is that if it starts taking over, and if people start relying on it for that kind of work, that's when we're in trouble, because eventually we won't know the difference. And then, 2, 3, well, maybe even one generation down the line, something's going to be lost.
Definitely.
Anyway.
Yes. Think twice.
But okay, so speaking of that lovely... sorry, we're just going to go back to here. Speaking of that lovely, the idea of the recordings of the empty studios, and just thinking that we've been doing a lot of walking and getting out in nature and trying to just put ourselves in touch with
reality,
because it's all such a digital nightmare.
Yeah, it's been very heavy on the work front at home at the moment, and we just, at the end of the day, we need to get away from the machines for a little bit, just to reconnect with our bodies and the world around us.
Obviously, reconnecting with you is beautiful.
Yes,
I mean, this is really important to us.
There's good and bad in all these things, isn't there?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with technology. It's just like, hey, hold on. Okay, that's a clever parlor trick. It is a parlor trick as well. It's not intelligent. It's just guessing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went walking and we took some video and we made some recordings. This is very short, but we were walking along a path next to some pylons, and there was grasses blowing, and we heard this strange sound, and it was just the wind was hitting two posts in a particular way, and we just thought we'd share it with you. It's a little bit of sound, just for after our foaming at the mouth and ranting about AI. We just give you a little bit of nature for a second. So, I promise not to rant any more in this show. Here we go.
What a delight to be walking through the fields and hear that mysterious sound.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of peace and quiet for you after our shouting.
I feel all mellowed out.
Yeah, me too. So, yeah, we've got some recommendations for you for Bandcamp. Thanks for going with us on this annoying rant world again. We'll try and stop. Literally every day, it's like being hit in the face with a rake. It's like bang, whap. Anyway,
Yeah.
What have you got there?
Well, let's go to some wonderful, positive human endeavor, shall we? So Bandcamp Friday, we've got a couple of recommendations that are definitely part of Bandcamp that we can share with you. This is called The Love It Took to Leave You by Colin Stetson. And I found this via Ted Joy. I think it was one of his recordings of the year. And the guy uses a bass... Is it a tenor or a bass? A saxophone, really deep saxophone in these really strange, echoey spaces, and it's quite just cosmic and ethereal and beautiful and deep. To be honest, I've only heard the first track, but I'm going to buy the whole album based on just that first track. You can watch it on YouTube, but you can find more of it there.
Yeah, so we'll drop the link in for you. It's absolutely beautiful. And again, it's about recording the space, isn't it?
Yes, very much.
Something I should have said as well, the Is This What You Want recording the protest album with the silent sounds of the insides of studios and performance spaces is not available on Bandcamp, but it is available on Spotify. Okay.
They tried.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
So this is Kugelschreiber, which is let me just check. It's something to do with the cardiacs. What's her name? Sharon Fortnum, who played with Cardiacs and with William D. Drake, and she has a few solo releases, but I really like this Me Times You is Not Equal to You Times Me track. There's a video on YouTube, but it's very Dear Hoofy, and it has that strange, syncopated all over the place rhythm, the cadence of Tim Smith's lyrics in Cardiacs, and it's just really fun, odd pop. So pick that up if you need some of that in your life. And those are the only two Bandcamp.
But yeah, we were checking out the Mobo Awards, and it was quite interesting. I don't know if it's like this every year, but there seem to be a lot of UK acts in the Mobo Awards this year, and we went and checked some of them out, and we came away quite enamoured of this guy, Odile. Best Newcomer, I think, was the award he got. Yeah,
Best Newcomer. And we played this video first, where he just stands outside this French cafe for a while. But his lyrics are brilliant. The sound is fantastic. And then we were like, maybe it's just a one-off. And literally every video we clicked was great.
Yeah, they were lovely, really genuinely lovely songs. I mean, really moving,
really moving, heartfelt songs about relationships that totally defy anything you think you know about the rap genre. You know, any stereotypical sort of
rappers. You've seen the rappers.
Yeah.
But also we had Poser with a Z.
Poser.
Who's what was it, cap rap?
Well, I was looking up about him, and people were like, "Oh no, man, he's just a cap rapper because he raps about like busting caps and stuff."
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought his videos were really imaginative and fun. His lyrics were great, and the sound, man, it hits you in the chest, like that particular throbbing bass combination he has with his kind of high, trebly sort of high frequency synthy parts, and the way they're balanced together are just brilliant. And apparently he's combined his background in like growing up listening to grime and then listening to American drill, and he's smushed them together, and he's it
was nice.
Yeah, he was like the youngest artist to go #1 before the album was released or something.
So yeah, we thought
doing very well.
We just literally just sharing that with you. I know, clearly it's electronic music, we really enjoyed some of that stuff. So what have you got something there as well for me, or is that later?
I think that's later. I should go to the Andrew Brooks mentioned a Bandcamp act, Bandcamp Friday. Let me just scroll up in the chat.
We can of course come back to this later.
Okay. I'll find it later. Your recommendations in the chat, and we will share them.
Okay, yeah. So we haven't really had time to have a check at the chat, so we're going to go right back. Poser isn't real. He was made by AI. Is that real?
No,
just kidding.
He's a real man.
Yeah, it's real. His teeth don't look real. I mean, there's some amazing metallic grills going. Grills. They're really grilly.
Yeah.
And anyway, so Synth of the Month. It's been a long time since we did this. Not going to say anything more. There we go. It's Synth of the Month time.
Yay.
Let's get to it. Enjoy. The BOOcast Synth of the Month is the Yamaha Reface DX. the Reface DX is 10 years old this year, and we thought it was about time we dusted it off and gave it some love. This synth came with us to every gig for the best part of 8 years, and it performed its duties very well, never breaking down and never giving us a spinal injury from carrying it about. The usual criticisms came thick and fast, however. It's too brown, it's just a collection of doorbells, why does it have mini keys, why did they make it at all? Even the great Nick Batt, while introducing us live, opined about how it didn't capture the imagination, to which I replied, well, it captured ours. But today, it's out of the rig, replaced by the Op6 and the Tangerine, and has been relegated to the subs bench, awaiting possible banishment from the House of Boo into eBay oblivion. And all because I now have to admit that the Reface DX may be just another synth I'm ashamed to say I bought because it's small. And yet, it's still with us. Why can't I let the Reface go? Okay, the Reface DX, here it is. This is actually the third FM synth we've seen on the Synth of the Month. The very first Synth of the Month, in fact, was the Korg Op6. Now, the Korg Op6 has very largely superseded the DX in our house, just because, well, we'll come to that. But there are reasons why it superseded the Reface DX. And this little baby has spent its time on the shelf for potential eBay sales. And every time I go to do it, I turn it on and I sort of go, nah, I can't sell it. I really like it. It does have a really nice quality. And actually the keys on it, although they're mini keys, I would say they actually feel better to play than those on the Op6. The second FM synth we had on Synth of the Month was the Yamaha PSS 480. So we had a Korg and a Yamaha. And the reason the PSS 480 was on was because it's just unexpectedly meaty. And it's got a really... it's 2 operators. The Reface DX is 4 operators, but it's a little bit more to it than that, which we'll come to. So this 2015 release from Yamaha, along with its Reface CS, sort of pretend analog synth, and its Reface CP, its electric piano modeling synth. 3, battery powered, very small, very lightweight, but pretty solid and great sounding keyboards. And obviously we bought the DX primarily for live use. Now this is another terrible confession, really. I mean, really the reason we got it is because it's got presets, it runs on batteries, it's small, and it fits into the live rig. At heart, we're very, very lazy people. We don't want to be lugging heavy things around. Anyway, enough about the prehistory. Let's look at it. So on the front panel, well, the first thing you notice is it's brown. It is very brown. It's as brown as the original DXs were. And I remember having a conversation with a man outside, I can't remember who it was, but outside a gig in London. And I said, yeah, we got the Reface DX. And he said, oh, it's so brown. And I was, yeah, it's kind of a thing, isn't it? It's this is a brown synthesizer, and the DXs were all brown. It's a sort of it's a pleasing brown, though. It's the sort of, I would say, the brown of an 80% cocoa plain chocolate, you know, a high quality, very snappy chocolate. Now, the big thing about the Yamaha Reface DX, according to Yamaha when it came out, was its ease of use. The whole idea, it's going to be easy to use. It's going to make FM simple. And the question is, I mean, did it really achieve that? So ease of use is usually an epithet that normally applied to white goods and medical appliances, not musical instruments. But, you know, if you've ever tried to program a DX7 with any definite end result in mind, then you'll know that the FM method of synthesis, discovered by John Chowning in the early 70s, is more complicated than quantum physics, and with every parameter change seeming to affect every other parameter in unexpected, though sometimes brilliant, ways. This was Yamaha's 2015 solution to the cat's cradle of FM parameter madness. And here it is, the Reface DX. So let's see if it works. So it's 8-voice polyphonic. Let's have a listen at some sound. So here's one that one of ours. It uses this really annoying S-video type MIDI breakout cable, and when you look around the back, there's actually enough room for 2 proper DIN sockets. I think it's a shame because it's just a bit of a faff. It's got 2 built-in speakers, which I blew up within a week of having it, because obviously I pushed everything to the limit and then had it up full volume, and the right one just died. The left one still works, and they actually sound quite good. It's got 32 overwritable presets, and that's not very many, which is a shame, but you can use the Soundmondo app, which I personally don't enjoy. The feeling of going online to connect to things and save your sounds up in the cloud. I'd rather have them down here, but hey, 32. I mean, yeah, there it is. It's fine. So we got one primarily for live use. It was small, ran on batteries, 37 mini keys. They feel good. It sounds great. But we quickly realized that with a little bit of tweaking, this thing can sound like a bit of a beast. So it comes with some presets. You know, that's all right. This is... it's very close to some of the original DX7 presets. Unfortunately, it doesn't load original DX7 presets, which is a real shame. It's got a different architecture inside, so it's not compatible with the original files, which is a shame. But there we go. I can hear someone in the audience going, "Oh, there we go. It's just an expensive doorbell." So I aim to prove that not to be the case, but it's not happening so far. That's all right. I'm not really a big fan of the presets. Oh, that one's pretty good. So you see, it's possible to get a kind of pulse width modulation type effect going on. So we got the phase of one of the operators being worked. So that sounds quite nice. Yeah. So I kept that one. This is the one that we used in the intro. Yeah. Sorry, getting carried away. So let's look at the front panel. So we got pitch bend. Quite nice. Volume, which I just realized I've had quite low. I'll use it. Go there for now on. Octave switch, which is quite useful. You can sort of, it's a 3-octave keyboard, but you can sort of, if you want to throw in a low note, you can just use your spare finger to move it around. Then we've got these 4 controls. Whoops, let's go back. So there's 4 controls and a screen. So these 4, they're sort of touch sliders. It looks a bit like Knight Rider. This is what's supposed to make everything easier. So we'll come to that when I do a bit of programming. And we got a screen, which is extremely helpful. Then we got these 4 buttons here, which are sort of shortcut buttons to the most useful parts of the FM business, which I guess does speed things up a bit. Then we got a bank button. We've got 4 banks of 8 sounds, making 32 in total. Oh, there you go. There you go, another doorbell for you there. Oh, yes, that's nice and loud. Yeah. So you're going to hear a couple of these sounds a few times because there's only 32 of them, and I guess I'm going to bump into them a lot. Really good for piano sounds, as you'd imagine. And this sort of almost analog-y string sound. Pretty impressive. Again, there are ways of making this thing sound warmer than you would expect FM to maybe sound. A little sound there. So this is me trying to copy a sound made originally on the CZ101 on the DX. It's done a fairly good job. Oh yes, Black Line. So Steve Weeks, thank you. You sent a lovely video in taking us through some of your gear at Christmas. Thanks for that. And you brought up the Black Line preset on the Reface DX, which you'd pulled off the Soundmondo page. You wanted to check if it was mine. I'm not sure if it is, because... That's not the same sound, is it? I can't remember. We'll go back and look. Anyway, that's Black Lion. Anyway, that's enough of a check through the sounds. I'll go through to Wood EP. This is my least favourite. So yeah, it's supposed to be easy to program. So let's have a go at making a sound from scratch. Yeah, this is the bank and the edit buttons. And there's operator 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then there's also envelope generator level, envelope generator rate, the LFO. There's only one LFO, but it does work polyphonically, which is quite interesting, as we'll see. And there's a pitch envelope as well. Then we've got functions, and we've got 2 built-in effects that can run at the same time. Function sort of takes us to basic jobs. Store, well, that's self-explanatory, isn't it? And there's the looper. We'll come to the looper at the end. I don't find it terribly useful. Anyway, so let's first of all initialize this voice. Yes. And as you can see, this turns into buttons now. So yeah, let's initialize that. Completed. There we go. And we've got sine wave there. What I'm going to do immediately is just hit edit and go up to operator 4 and turn it off. And operator 3 and turn it off. So now we've only got 1 and 2, and then take it out of edit, go to algorithm. So here we have our carrier, and these are our modulators. These 2 are turned off at the moment. So we've got 1 modulator and 1 carrier. The carrier is the operator we hear, and the modulator is the operator which is modulating the carrier. Right, okay, that's a mouthful, isn't it? This is probably part of the reason why people get so annoyed with FM. So there, at the moment, we're just listening to 1 sine wave. So the way John Channing discovered frequency modulation synthesis is something like this. Can't remember where he was working, but they were experimenting with sound synthesis, and there was a part of the department that was using up to 24 sine wave oscillators to create complex waveforms of a trumpet. Well, what John Channing did was he basically had 1 sine wave, and this is the one we're listening to, and then he slowly modulated it with another sine wave. So let's just change the frequency of that and bring it right down. So bring up the level. So this kind of simplifies things. We go straight to the level, and we can bring up the level of the modulator. So you can hear that. The modulator is causing a sort of vibrato effect there. And we can adjust the amount by bringing down the level of the modulator like this. Exactly like an analog synth, actually. But if we go back to operator 2, and we'll just bring up the frequency. So you can hear faster modulation. And this is what John Channing did. And as he went further up in speed, okay, it's still sort of registering as pitch modulation, but it goes past a certain point where you can no longer determine it as a pitch shift, and it becomes a timbre shift. So we're changing the sound. There we go. So bit of a mess, but that's a little bit of FM. I'm going to take this out of fixed mode. So this basically uses the same frequency as we go up and down and go to ratio. Now, John Channing then realized that if you have ratios, the ratio being the difference between the frequency of the carrier and the modulator, you get more musically sensible sounds out of it. I say sensible, but there we go. Anyway, let's go back to the level. So we can change the amount. So a little bit is often very useful. So we've gone from this sine wave to this sort of very easy to make bell-like sounds on the FM synthesis. And here's a bell-like sound. Surprise, surprise. So you adjust it by level. That's all well and good, but what we really would like to do is to change that level over time. So we're still in edit mode. We'll go to envelope generator level for 2. It is an ADSR envelope, but we've got level and rate. What I'll do now is go to level, bring these all down, and there we go. So now we should have... There you go. That's kind of a classic FM type sound there. I'm just going to go to operator 1. So you just press the EG button and you can cycle through the operators. It is a little bit of a faff because you do have to change the envelopes independently for each operator as you're going. But hey, that's just the way it is. So let's give it a bit of release. So I'm just going to bring up the rate. I always get mixed up because lower feels like it should be shorter and higher feels like it should be longer, but it's the opposite when you're talking about rate. So a faster rate means shorter and a lower rate means longer. Anyway, there you go. That's basically a bit of FM. So we go into the operator controls here. We've got 3 pages in each operator. So we've got, is it on? What mode of tuning is it? Is it ratio or fixed? What its ratio is. And we've also got detune, so we can... Quite subtle. So it's becoming warmer. It's possible to make some warm sounds. Remember, we're not actually listening to this operator. This is operator 2, which is modulating 1, but we can... just hear that detuning. There's also an LFO. We can do pitch modulation on the whole thing by just simply doing that. And we can add delay. Bring that up a little bit. And we can go to different waveforms. We've got triangle, sine, triangle, saw up, saw down, and a square, sample and hold, and a sort of slewed sample and hold with a bit smoothed off around the edges. There we go. So that's with 2 operators. A pretty average sound, let's be fair. Could be useful for something, I guess. Remember, we've got 2 more operators here, so let's turn them on. Turn them all on, and then we come back to level. So those operators are off at the moment, but we can bring them up and see what they do. So from this line, you can see that operators 2, 3, and 4 are modulators, and this is the carrier. So they're all going to be modulating each other in a straight line and then hitting the carrier, which is the only operator we're hearing. So let's bring up the level of 3. Sort of thing going on there. If we look at the frequencies, we can bring up the frequencies, which, oh yeah, if it's a bit bright, the useful thing we can do is, if it's feeling a bit bright, it's very quick to just go to the level and bring those down, bring the effect of them down a little bit. I've got a doorbell. Again. I promise you, if you work harder, you can make something other than doorbells. So once we have more than 2 operators, we then need to find a way of plugging them into each other in different orders. And that's where algorithms come in. So on the Reface DX, we have this button here, which takes you straight to the algo page, algorithms. And we have only 12 algorithms. So the first one we've heard. But an interesting thing to do, part of the, I guess, the ease of use epithet is this idea that you can just go to the level, change that straight away, go to the algo, and you can just flick through them very easily. And you get quite different effects according to how these operators are plugged into each other. So, I mean, basically, by the way, the parlance operator is very odd. It's not an oscillator. It's an oscillator, normally a sine wave oscillator, connected to a volume envelope and a pitch envelope, and with a level control. So an operator is basically all those little things plugged together in one little package. That's a bit subtler. That's a bit less subtle. We've come all the way up until they're all carriers. So you're listening to all the operators here. One thing I haven't done yet is gone to this button, which is feedback. Now, feedback is an interesting place to go on the Reface DX because although it only has 4 operators, we do have the ability to apply feedback to each of the individual operators and turn them from that sine wave, classic sine wave thing, and we can feed them back in one direction and turn it into a saw. In fact, let's just get the level here. I'll turn everything off so we can just hear one operator. So there we go, we've got perfectly good sawtooth there. And if we go the other way, we've got a square. So instead of having to use sine waves to modulate other sine waves to make our waveforms, we can have a jump off point here where we start already with a different waveform. And we've got an amount. And it's almost like brightening up a filter. In fact, it's very, very similar to how the CZ101 works, where we basically bend the sine wave, bend its phase timing until we get a more complex waveform. In fact, what would be really useful is if we could apply an envelope to this control, the feedback control, and then we'd effectively be doing what the CZ101 does as well. Sort of. Unfortunately, we can't do that. That's a bit of a pain. Hey, but there we go. But this, although we've only got 4 operators, this kind of makes that not a problem because on a 6-operator synth like the DX, we generally need to have 2 operators, one as the modulator, one as the carrier, so that we can bend the carrier into the waveform we want. But here we can just do it without wasting an operator. So let's just go back there. I'll bring the level of all these up. Bit of a silly sound, but here we go. There we go. So now we can get a double attack there. You can get those time-based sort of plinky plonky noises. The screen is really useful. And we can go in. That's a bit loud. So, yeah, is it easy to program? That's a good question. I had no fixed idea of what I wanted to make here. This might or might not be useful. Let's change the speed of that. Possibly useful. One of the most useful things about the DX range of synths was its expressivity, and the way we get to expressivity is we can, in these operator buttons at the top, we get to select how much velocity sensitivity there is on each operator. So we'll just so I'm applying velocity sensitivity to operator 1 here. Let's apply it to take it off 1 a little bit. So now, yeah, very easily. It's basically a clean, muted sawtooth. But if I hit it harder, we get those high modulated by the LFO other operators. Possibly the worst sound I've ever made, but hey, let's go for it. So we now, once we're satisfied, and believe me, I'm not satisfied, but let's carry on. We have an effect section, and we have a choice of 2 effects. Now we can have distortion. Whoa, baby, let's turn that down. The next one we have is a T-wah, touch wah. Yeah, anyway, back to effect, T-wah, chorus. Let's bring the rate down. That's quite a nice chorus. Turn the depth down a little bit. flanger. Don't have a feedback level, we just got depth. That's fine. It's all right. A phaser. Yep. Just a straight delay and a reverb. Depth and time. Now I have this. It's a sound, and we made it here today. Maybe we'll use it. Maybe we won't. Who knows? Maybe I'll delete it almost immediately. But it's ease of use. So this is the big selling point for this synth when it came out. Ease of use. Is it easy to use? Yeah. I mean, it kind of is. These buttons especially really help you to get from one place to another. So for example, I'm playing this now. I can bring that up. Interesting. I mean, it does invite you to mess with it. These are a little bit shonky sometimes. It's very much like fiddling around, plucking at it. Like a bit of an old telly sort of control, you know. It's all right, though. So before we say goodbye to this thing, let's just put on the looper. It starts as soon as you start playing. And there it is, it's trapped inside. Pretty nice. Let's change again. It takes a little while to load the sounds, I've noticed here. Let's go again. There you go. That's quite pleasing. To stop it, what do we do? Stop. And it stores it until you turn the synth off, and then it forgets it. So that's life. By the way, this sound here, rubbed nylon, we look at the operator's level. The operator 4 is doing that rubbed nylon effect. I didn't cover the pitch EG, so let's go to edit, pitch EG, and as you can see, it's only applied to 4, so we can adjust the pitch of any of the operators over time. This one, as you can see, is doing that. So if I change, and I guess with a little bit of practice, you could probably, fake some sync type sounds. Let's turn that up. Oh, it's already up. Let's find the frequency, bring it down. But because the LFO works polyphonically, we can get these sort of instant Steve Reich moments. Which are quite lovely. So, before we say goodbye to the DX, I just want to think, it is kind of easy to program. It has its foibles. It's a bit irritating at times, to be fair. But, it is easier than a DX7 to program. So, mission accomplished. If you want to say ease of use is an epithet we're going to apply to this thing, then yeah, why not? It has slightly been superseded, as I said, by the Op6, by Korg. Although we can turn these operators from sines into sawtooths and squares, On the Op6, obviously, we've got a choice of a multitude of waveforms to choose from, and lots more effects, and a whole bunch of more algorithms. In fact, user-defined algorithms is a really big winner for the Op6 because you can choose yourself how you plug these little operators into each other, which effectively makes it kind of modular in its way because it's that flexible. Apologies for this noise. If a noise becomes irritating, though, on the DX Reface, you just bring it down there with the level control here. It's a nice bit, this bit, because you can just quickly get to places. So yeah, watch eBay because it might go at some stage, but not yet. Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. I don't know. How annoyed am I? I quite like it. Oh, that's life. Anyway, Yamaha Reface DX. Here it is. It's small, it's battery powered, it's brown. God bless it. Thanks for watching.
Well, however...
And that sound went on for about 4 years. Sorry.
And however annoyed you may have been, I don't think you were annoyed as Technomatic was in the chat, who asked, "What sound does it make if you hit it with a really big hammer?"
I knew what I was getting into.
Yeah, but Andrew Brooks said this is a Fab FM lesson, and you kind of have to explain FM synthesis when exploring
is it?
this
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, thanks, Andrew. That's very kind of you. As I looked into John Chowning and the whole idea of the initial impetus for his research and the way FM was invented. Basically, they were having stacks of oscillators to create, to build the harmonics up. And he went, "Oh, you just need 2, and you can build them yourself." And yeah, you can. You can. But do you want to? I mean,
I think Peter Coit said he prefers the workflow in the Op6, but this is very portable for gigging.
Well, the Op6 in itself has got a lot of other options apart from just FM as well. I mean, you can just like, I mean, it's a bit like playing with an analog synth. You can kind of just piss around with the Op6 and accidentally make really nice sounds on it. I think it's possible. You don't actually have to be like 4 operators makes it easier than 6, I guess. I'd say my favorite FM synth, I think, is the PSS 480 though. 2 operators, and also that weird thing about the FM about the feedback on the Reface DX. It was like feedback, you get saw one way and square the other way. I'm pretty sure that feedback on all the other FM synths doesn't behave in that way. It kind of extends out and turns into noise eventually. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong, but in my memory, whatever. Yeah, the application is just too mathematical to sound musical. I mean, this is the thing. It's the whole idea of the ratios and it's the mathematical harmonics. It's the music of the spheres, man. You've got to understand the way, the ratios and everything gets into each other.
I never understand the ratios, but I just keep pushing it around until I hear something I like.
Well, I mean, yeah, and how often does that happen?
Not often.
There you go.
I would probably pick something else up sooner, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, okay, so there's a lot of synths with FM. Sorry, but and again, so Technomatic is saying, and Technomatic, I feel like I need to address this because I'm sorry. I did refer to doorbells at least 4 times during that video, and it was directed at you. I'm thinking of you, man. I know this hurts, okay? I feel your pain. I'm sorry. Okay, I just want to say I'm sorry. But you said quite right, FM gets a lot more interesting when the oscillators are less stable. So yeah, So the oscillators in the original DX were digital, right? They were digital oscillators. And there was a bit of grit to them as well, if I remember rightly. There was some, wasn't there? They weren't actually pure. There was a bit of dirt in there. So yeah, like you said, it's like going through a buffet and everything's covered in sand. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Well, Lady Aptitude said that Sound Mondo, the online app for managing sounds, is worth exploring for Manny's presets alone. Yeah. Okay. So I'll put a link in the chat in there. But not only does he have loads of presets on there, he has the kind of a course in FM synthesis as well. So there's the basics of the basics of FM synthesis. That's quite a mouthful. So yeah, you can check all that out. He's a master sound designer. So yeah, if you have a Reface, see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Isn't that the amazing
out.
thing? Is if you tune a piano mathematically, it sounds awful. I'm coming straight back to you, Simon, as well, because I feel guilty. And also, I love you, man. But it's you tune a piano mathematically, it sounds awful. That's a really interesting thing, that when you do it by proper, even tempered, or the actual accurate mathematical scale, when you come back to it octave above, it doesn't work. It drifts out. It naturally drifts out. It's a bit like it's kind of spooky. Music is not
quite maths.
It's not quite maths. I mean, it's the human, it's soul, man.
Well,
it's
interestingly enough, I heard people often say that Bach is the composer that is the most mathematical, and it's like watching Clockwork or something, listening to his music.
It always fills me with a sense of my own mortality, Bach, because especially Toccata and Fugue. I know he's just going through the changes and changing through the stuff, but sorry.
Well, however, I read this really good counterpoint to that idea. It was that actually a lot of classical music it's all built for dancing to, and we forget this because in this day and age we sit and listen and look very po-faced in the context of listening to classical music for most of us, unless you're us, and we do dance around the house like idiots to classical music. But
that's like
gavotte,
Shakespeare.
the waltz, all these words that are in classical music.
I had to do the gavotte at drama school.
Did you?
Yeah, I'll try and teach you.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see
There's
it.
a lot of bouncing around. But it's the same with Shakespeare. So Shakespeare, now you sit po-faced and go, very good, yes. And that vague feeling of boredom is what people associate with culture. I'm a bit bored, so this must be doing me good. Not at all, because in Shakespeare's time, they were like, having fights, selling pigs to each other. I mean, God knows what, having sex. They were just jumping around in the bear pit at the bottom while the play went on, and there was lots of back and forth. A lot of culture's been.
Even it moved on to jazz as well. Now jazz is kind of absorbed in this po-faced way too now, but there's a revival going on in the UK primarily for modern jazz just being really out there, and the kids are into it. Yeah.
Nice.
Great.
Sorry, what else have you got?
Yes, maths.
Maths.
Don't lean too much into the maths. Feel the body. That's the most important thing.
But do lean into maths. Matt Hodson.
Okay. Very subtle. We had loads of Bandcamp recommendations during that, which I'm going to link to on my screen.
Awesome, thank you.
First of all, Andrew Brooks recommended Acef Stripe, brilliant whimsical music. I will put the links to these in the chat shortly.
Yeah, we'll check all this out later on as well.
Also,
Blush Response, I know them. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Full on industrial, he says.
Nice.
Yeah, I like a bit of that. And Stefan Last recommended JonTeknik.
I know JonTeknik.
From Shore and by Sea, inspired by Kraftwerk. Structure, the album, and the new album, Various Artists, are both very good, so worth checking out.
Yeah, JonTeknik's been
going
for a while. I remember him from Cats and Days. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, marvellous.
AD Vision, not technically a Bandcamp release. AD Vision, get yourself on there. This is Artifem, which is a new video.
Where can we get that? Is that on YouTube?
Just on YouTube at the moment.
Oh, is that 3D? No, it's
an RGB split, but it has a 3D sort of effect. I wonder what happens if you put on goggles.
Oh, God, maybe you see through time.
Anyway, yes, thank you, AD Vision. Ian J. Cole recommended Bee and Her Business. No Bandcamp again, but, well, you can listen to it in all of those places. Safety Net is her latest single, and he's been really enjoying that. And, yes.
Another great.
Who
Pye Corner
recommended this? I'll just check. It was Nick Howe recommended this in the chat. Pye Corner Audio, a bunch of unreleased stuff. Where Things Are Hollow, No Tomorrow. And just a reminder,
I'm not sure, but I think we're on a compilation with Pye Corner Audio, or on the Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Kev Oyston.
Thing we did.
Yeah. Yes, that was literally the first thing we released.
But I just wanted to point to the Discord. If you're not on there, feel free to send us more recommendations on there. Any suggestions for the show as well, or just chat about synths, events you have on. We post stems to our boosters so you can share your remixes. Stems, you say? Yes. Well, if you subscribe to Battery Operated Orchestra, you get access to all sorts of exclusive demos, unreleased EPs, free downloads, and stems.
This is,
well, I'm skipping ahead, but I'm just going to link to it now. And we have loads of EPs up there. I think there are 15 or so and more at the moment.
There's a lot of stuff up there. And we actually just really want to thank you for supporting us. It's wonderful. Just it's that little bit of help, and it's also the fact that you're there and we get to, we don't feel so alone in the long, cold, lonely weeks between the BOOcast and between getting any gigs and seeing you. So thank you very much.
And we will see you soon.
And we will be seeing you soon.
Andrew Kubachevsky was asking when that gig is, and
I
it's
did
May the 2nd.
May the 2nd. Okay, cool.
At the Brunswick in Hove.
Yeah.
And that will be awesome. I'm just putting links to all these in the chat. So
okay, fantastic. So I'll carry on. Thanks ever so much. If you can, do join us on the become a booster and subscribe to us on Bandcamp. If you can't, do join us on the Discord. The Discord's it's okay, it's good, it's alive. It's just we'll try and put more stuff in there. Also, we've got our where are we here? We've got our new
Substack. Yeah, we've started a Substack where we're posting sort of long form writing on things, stories behind songs and things like that. If you've been following us for a while, you may recognize it from the Booster stuff, but we will be writing more new things soon. Check us out there. Give us a subscribe and you'll get emails from us. Also in the chat, I have to say, Brian Rose said he he just received his Synthesizer t-shirt as modelled by Chris on the last show.
Look at that.
He says it's brilliant. And I have to agree. It makes me happy every time I see Chris wearing it, and I think I might have to get one for myself too.
Just if you do get one for yourself, be sure that you carry some kind of stick to fight off members of the opposite sex as they run at you. And the same sex, let's be frank, and animals. Everything's running at you.
Everybody
trying to get with you when you're wearing that t-shirt. And if that isn't a sales pitch, I don't know what isn't. Isn't?
Isn't.
Is. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah.
I think, there were a few more comments on the AI stuff we were discussing. Gary G says that Meta scraped something like 80 terabytes of pirated books from illegal sites like ZLibrary. So there's one rule for the tech bros and one for everybody else.
Completely. I'd like to see a tech bro doing a painting.
Peter Coit said that album, well, surely they've all done cover versions of 433 by John Cage.
Yes, was exactly the thought. I thought, wouldn't it be hilarious if they got copyright struck by YouTube for John Cage?
That would be funny.
Yeah.
It's the machines fighting
the interesting thing about John Cage is I can't remember. Was it Mark Steele? He talked about classical music. He was talking about Beethoven, actually. But he said, I was watching a television program about the performance of John Cage's 4 minutes 33. And then after they were talking about it, basically he talks about, you know what 433 is, right? Of course you do. They all sit in silence for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Apparently, John Cage sat in the anechoic chamber at Harvard, and that's where he realised there is no such thing as silence, and that's where the idea came from. Anyway, that's besides the point. But then Mark Steele goes, when they were talking about it, one of the presenters, and it was Jermaine Greer actually, said she was thoroughly fortunate and extra excited because she'd managed to see the rehearsal. And she said it was quite different. I'm like, okay, stop, calm down, it's fine. Because I can get it. I get it. You go and listen to this album. It's nice. It's got sound in it that's, I think one or two of them are a bit stage managed, though. I'm sure I can hear someone drumming on a desk. And I know there's one where you can hear a fader being moved up and down for no reason. I'm in a studio. Listen.
Maybe they had their headphones on. Well, whatever. I
anyway,
think it's fulfilled its purpose. Ian J. Cole said it's a bit hard to find it on iTunes, which is odd. Maybe it's being suppressed by the algorithm. We just don't know.
Which one?
That album, the new, what's it called? I've forgotten what it's called.
Is This What You Want?
Is This What You Want?
I'm sorry, I must apologise. I am drinking a little bit of whiskey.
Well, it's very cold. We must keep warm.
Yeah. New boiler tomorrow.
Interesting point from Dreamwarper, which is Wagyu in disguise tonight. Pandora's box has already been opened with AI, in my opinion. And then somebody mentioned, if I do a painting and sell it for £100, what makes AI able to pay $0 for it? And Wagyu said, well, if it's in a gallery, then people can look at it and go home and make their own similar painting, which I guess is trying to draw the comparison that there's always been copying.
Yeah, but part of the process of learning how to paint, it's a classic exercise, is you get sent by the art school into galleries to sit with an easel and copy the great masters. The important thing is it's a human being copying the great masters so that you learn those techniques, not a machine.
Also, I suppose if somebody did copy something and try to pass it off as their own art, don't want to offend the fans, but Bob Dylan paintings from photos.
Oh God, yeah.
Normally,
there's nothing wrong with painting from photos.
Yeah,
but when you try to tell
they were
people,
famous photos.
But also when you try to tell people that they were a little backstory to the painting, that this is a guy I met on the thing.
This is the crucial point. Is if you are passing it off as your own work, in the real world there are repercussions for that. And I think it would come a long way if the AI that is being used at least accounted for the provenance of the art that it's using. Like, this is where it comes from, at least pay due. And when AI art is created, put a label on it. This is AI art.
Well, so perhaps we should be fighting for because the government stance on this is basically more transparency, which means nothing. So literally saying you need to share where you scraped this from, but it could be the entire planet's worth of stuff. So maybe that amount of data wouldn't actually be readable by anyone in the end.
I think this is why the issue is becoming so difficult for people to navigate, because it's almost beyond human comprehension. The levels of detail in this stuff. Anyway, was there anything else?
I don't know.
I think that was
it. I
it.
don't think there's anything else.
That was it.
I'm done for. But we do need to say thank you to the boosters. We've got some...
Oh, we do?
Yeah, because this is... I'm just saying this. Thank you so much for supporting us as a booster. And we want to say thank you very much. If you support us for... And we'll go back to just have a little peek.
Yeah.
If you support us for 6 months, you become eligible for the highest possible accolade. Actually, it's the highest possible at the moment. We may need to have a gold tier invented, but we haven't worked that one out quite. But if you support us for 6 months, you do get the much coveted BOOpeater badge, which is just to say thank you very much for what you've done for us. And this month we'd like to say thank you once again to all you badge winners, and we have some new badge winners adding to the list.
We do.
So are you ready?
Are you ready? I'm ready.
Here's the bit we have to pay for every month because we didn't bother making the fanfare ourselves. Here it comes. You see, you pay for art.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
Even this cheesy fanfare, right?
I think it's perfect.
Yeah, here we go. Thank you so much, all of you. The Booster Badge Holders Scroll of Honour. Thanks once again. We don't actually have to say all the names.
Oh, go on, let's do it. Andrew Kubachevsky, thank you.
Andrew, thanks for joining us tonight as well. Stefan Last,
thanks for being here. Steve Turnbull, Ian J. Cole.
James Newcomb, Craig Williams.
Paul Mouchline, Adam Embry.
Warren Harrison, Sean Parsons.
Jeff Terranova.
Jeff Potter.
Andrew Van.
Ian Heath.
Paul Harkness.
Jörg Schäffner.
Tom Grimshaw. Pascal Aubrey. Technomatic from David Hill.
What? Andrew Walford. Nick Haig. Gary Goldfinch. Ed Francie. Andrew Mayer. Rob Sloan. Wagyu.
Ian Pass.
Simon Goodwin. Neil Wharton. Andrew Loveland.
Jerome Gorman.
Michael Carker.
No labels calls.
Andy Vonal.
Andy McCree.
Adrian Wright.
Reynoud Jan Groenen.
Rich Cool.
Evan D.B. Gray.
Sean Parsons. Julian Edge.
Zach Lure.
Christopher Miller. Thank you very much, all of you, for supporting us. And to this month, Phil Dunbar. Welcome aboard.
And Tonin Pex.
Welcome aboard. And Stephen Webb. Welcome aboard. Your badges are in the posts. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you ever so much.
Bottom of our hearts.
And remember, if you want to have that shout out to end all shout outs, just support us for 6 months on the as a booster on Bandcamp, and
it's not just the badge. You get all that music. You get exclusive merch. You get 10% off all merchandise, and whenever we release something new, it gets straight into your inbox. You get the digital download right away. And exclusive messages as well, private sort of fan messages.
Yeah, fantastic. So are we is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. I'm just looking at the welcome new badge holders, absolutely, and
The house has 2 badges. There's a few in the 2 badge club. That's just because we're very disorganized.
I wonder if we
Sorry.
should sort out a 2 badge club or something.
2
I've
badge
been
club.
thinking about a gold badge.
Ooh. But Blue Peter do that as well, don't they?
Yes, they do, but you have to like save a dying child or something from a
okay.
canal. I mean, I'm just doing 70s heroism now, or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll work something out.
Save a child
I've
who's
been-
locked in a refrigerator.
That's a very
That's very
Australian thing.
70s, isn't
That's
it?
an Australian
No,
thing.
it's in one of the Charlie Says films.
Locked in a refrigerator.
Yeah, in the building site.
Because of course that's why fridges don't have locks anymore.
Yeah.
Because kids used to walk into them. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like, if a kid's going to lock itself in a fridge, it's probably best it's not in the human race, right? I mean, yeah.
Very Darwinian of you.
Why should my fruit and veg and my cold cuts end up lukewarm because the fridge door just popped open because it's not locked because of a child?
Yeah. Well, I think they've mastered the design of fridges so that they close without opening. It's just ours is very dodgy.
No, I've never seen a fridge that doesn't just go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I've just obviously bad fridges, but
Dad used to have a locking fridge. It lasted such a long time. White goods from the past, man. You can't beat them.
yeah, amazing. Anyway, look, thank you very much for joining us. We love you,
We do.
and you've made our evening.
Yes.
We'll
We'll have more goodies in April.
We sure
And it
will.
will be warmer.
We might even have some new music for you in April. I'm not promising anything, but I've got a feeling we've got a good 2 songs that might be about to pop out.
It was a very exciting, getting down of ideas. There's stuff happening, man.
And also we just bought. We did. Oh, excuse me.
We did.
We
get
got
it.
that as well, so that's going to be used.
For the show, I think.
Part of the reason we got it is because you all basically, most of you seem to have it already, and you all said it was great, so I've gone for it. Anyway, we're wittering. I'm wittering. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
We're going to close out the show with an old song of
Yeah.
ours because we like it, and I don't think maybe not everybody's seen it. We have so many videos.
Well, there's some. We had a little recap, and we suddenly realised, hey, nobody's really looked at this one. And as it's spring, and it's a little bit like a walk in the country, and there's a little journey in it, and it's from a few years ago, but it's a nice song, I think. And like, we just wanted to share a bit of walking around.
Yeah.
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 And if you can, get out and have a walk.
Yeah. It'll do you
I
good.
promise you, it'll sort you out.
At the end of the day, I'm like, I don't feel like walking. Or like, I'm
I'll
taking you for a
force you.
walk, and then I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's good. Thank you.
That's all right. You're welcome. All right. We love you. Have a lovely month of March, and we'll see you in April. And
Okay.
take care of each other. See you
Thanks,
soon.
guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
taking your time.